On our side, of course, we need the added value thing to help sell our products. Basically, when you add value, basically you're increasing the marketability of the product. So they understand that because before simple weave lang sila eh. I mean, they were just doing simple weave. So I made sure, in fact, I invested training for them to come up with more advanced weaves, and it has worked. In fact, I'm encouraging them to even come up with their own design. So let's say we have a general idea of what pattern we want. In fact, we're encouraging them to come up with their own interpretation. So that's how it works.
For us, from the get-go, the brand's aim has always been to bridge the gap between the peace conflict areas in Mindanao and Manila and the global marketplace. And what really opened my eyes was, again, during the immersion trips when I would go there. And I have seen the war happen. I have heard it. I have, you live it when you're there. So it opened my eyes in thinking that, okay, like there are some peace conflict issues happening. But at the same time, it doesn't really erase the culture. The weavers are still there. The artisans are still there. So how do we get their wares, their products to the marketplace? And thankfully, since we have access to the land and to the area, so far we've been able to do that. But also, aside from bridging the gap, is also communicating the culture. We have learned so much about our own culture, the Tausug culture, and it also since there are a lot of parameters by which this culture, I guess, goes, right? You tend to help educate somehow through communicating, I guess, I don't know, proper usage or customs and traditions that are unique to the specific culture. So for us, it was really all about bringing people's awareness as to hey guys, we exist.
A piece of clothing becomes a tool to educate a consumer.
Yes, and to sustain, diba? Parang if no one's talking about it anymore, then it'll just be forgotten. If no one buys from the weavers anymore, then it'll just be, how do you? It's also kind of like a sustainability thing, wherein you just try to keep telling the story, and so thousands of years ago, why this happened, where this came from. I guess it's also one of the brand's aims, and I guess added value to the conversation.
Thank you.
That's the question was why do we innovate?
Yeah, why do you do it?
Why we
and
do
what's
it?
the add value? To the
I can't be a hero. I mean, I'm not saying I do this for them. I did this first because it enriched me spiritually more than anything. I guess it made me humble to see a lot of people that are so happy with just so little. And it made me realize that there's just so much to give to these people. And well, my family, in my family of two, it's just me and my husband. So I said, I could make a lot of these people my children. So when I go to these communities and they tell me stories like, Mom, since we started dealing with you, my children now go to school together. I mean, because before they would be grade 1 now, and then the next one will have to wait, and then the first one will stop going to school, and then the second child will be grade 1 again. So it takes them forever to finish even just grade 1 to grade 6 before, and now plus pa, because there's up to grade 12 na. Okay, so that one I think it enriches me more than I think I enrich them. And that is the one that I take with me every day, and I'm so thankful for that. But you see, more than that, what I would like to say is that these people are just so eager also, actually, to be helped. They just want to know more. And the moment the parents are interested in wanting to do a better job or doing something that's innovative, okay, it's just a little bit introduction, just a little bit tweaking of what it is that they used to do, the kids get interested. And that gives me hope that there is hope for culture and preservation of traditions.
Thank you. It really is. I guess it's the same for me. It feels like a kind of work that keeps on giving, and it makes us feel alive when when we're on the ground and we see tangible impacts in the community that we work with. A lot of you touched on different facets of sustainability and sustainable fashion, and I think that really is the core of what we do. We invest in our relationships with these artisans because we're in it for the long haul. And it's not just limited to weaving communities and handcrafting communities. Even in our own backyard, or the workshops that we run, from brass casters, potters, artists, bag makers, shoemakers. These are all part of the ecosystem that comprise the work that we do, and which is valuable to make it sustainable. So I guess my next question is, because we're in it for the long run and we're here to make things last and make things grow, what are the best practices in terms of business processes and solutions that you guys have employed to ensure that this benefits the community enterprises or the livelihood of the partner artisans, but also, of course, your own brands and your own enterprises?
I think we've been asked this question a lot, is if we practice fair trade. Fair trade, as also like sustainability, is also such a wide definition of has a super wide definition, right?
It's
a
a
wide
huge
definition of
It's
definitions.
a wide spectrum.
It is a wide spectrum. But for us, to the best of our ability, given all those circumstances that we just told you about earlier, first and foremost is transparency. We tell them what the designs are for. We tell them who we are, what we're planning to do, and then after that, we make sure that they're paid on time, that hindi namin sila binabarat just because, they wouldn't know any better or whatever. And sometimes we even encourage them na, no, dapat ganito. What else? We don't really like, again, the struggle of slow fashion. We don't really bombard them with like, bilisan mo na kasi may deadline.
The pressure
like,
to scale and meet inventory.
Yeah, so those are some of the practices that we employ with regards to fair trade. You know what, also, I think it's really nice to see their growth. With Tita Debbie was saying na parang in the beginning, it was like for you, but then you get more in the end, right? One of our sewers who started out, pwede na, hindi pantay yung ganyan, hindi, okay lang, like remedyo. And then recently, because I think he started seeing how the products, how the products looked after when it was all sewn or like worn by the model or displayed in our booth. Sometimes we'll have him do something and we're like, so kamusta tong, kunyari, this top? And he's like, wala, inulit ko kasi I wasn't happy with the quality. So parang we're like,
so even sa kanya, tumataas yung standards.
Yeah, kasi nakikita niya na parang, hindi lang pala like, alam mo yun, mass-produced na whatever to, or so parang there's also the growth there with that comes with growing the brand and expanding the brand.
I'll siguro like echo that. Transparency is really very important in allowing our partner artisans to also gain ownership of what they do. And I think that's what happened to the seamstress, right? Because you're very transparent in your process. She herself raised her standards in the kind of work that she does.
Parang yes, with the sewers, with the tausog weavers, the tausogs, okay, we're very ma-pride. We're a very proud community. And sometimes you feel like, you have to give more or like you have to just help them. But actually, all they want is dignity for their work. They want to work for their monthly sustenance. They want to work for... they don't want like dole outs, right? That's what we realized. I don't know with other communities if they're comfortable with that, but at least for our community, parang you see, parang alam mo yun, yung nakikita mo yung tindig na parang
sense of pride because of ownership.
May pride sila when it comes to like, gawa ko yan na, yung parang ganun.
Exactly. That's what we do. We give them pride for what they do. And then when they become proud of the quality, especially what we get to them is that ito yung quality dapat. And then they realize what they used to do and what they now do is so different, and they're so proud of it that they don't want, like many times when I'm in a rush already, sige na, okay na yan. You say, Ma'am, no, I have to change it. Diyos ko, wala nang tiyempo. Sige na lang. No, Ma'am, I'll change it. Oh my God.
So lalong tumatagal.
But it is the pride of the work of their hands that's pushing them. And of course, they have to be aware of time and motion also, because sometimes in the farms, in the rural areas, it's like time is not that urgent. They just, may tomorrow pa eh, diba? And then there's many tomorrows, and then just, I said, you know what? You have to consider just how many hours did you take to do this? And then you say, tomorrow something might come up. Your daughter could be sick, there could be too much rain, then you cannot harvest the abaca. So what you can do now, you do it already. So that they have that now, but of course
So, Tita, is it that you do a time and motion study in every product that you do? How are you able to ensure that they actually, say, produce a certain number of hours or maximize their day?
That is also one that in the community, it's, for me, one of the most important thing is documentation. It doesn't matter if it's in Cebuano, in Bisaya, in Ilonggo, just write it, okay? I tell them, sige, what did you used to do before? So they write it, and then, okay, what are we doing now? Okay, so they write it also, and then they give it to me. Of course, sometimes it takes about 2 weeks before they could give it back to me, because they have to go back to the town, take a photo, and send it to me. But otherwise, I tell them documentation is important, because then, pag wala na tayo, how will your kids know? So many of them, they realize that now.
Again, the value of being able to pass that on
Yes.
to the younger
Yes.
generation. Thank you. To Mike?
Well, on our side, when you talk about best practices, it's being effective in terms of the delivery of the product. And one big area that we settled from the very beginning, before we even undertake any project, is that we agree on the price. So when it comes to the price structure, we basically encourage them to give, well, we want them to be outspoken and to give us feedback on whether, well, putting it simply, both sides have to agree on the price. That's very important. The type of weave and whether it's short or width, whether it's wide. So there's a bit level of transparency. We allow them to vocalize any issues when it comes to price. Even quality, even the pattern, we encourage them to talk. If there's a problem, we tell them, don't wait if there's going to be a problem. They have to vocalize that or send us a message. What do we do? If we can't do this, hindi pala pwede, what's the next option? So we encourage them really to think, and that's one way also for them to learn. Okay, so pricing is one issue. The other issue, I must say again, is scheduling. Okay, we discuss how long, we basically compute already how many meters per day they can do. So each weaver, we know exactly more or less their capability. So it's important to know the capability of your workers, know their strengths and weaknesses, and from there you can come up with the action plan. So if weaver 1 can do it 10 meters a day, then maybe weaver 2 can only do 5, then more or less you can choose also the type of products, what kind of project you can allocate to them.
And it's always consultative. Like, you always sort of collaborate with the weavers or the artisans
Always.
and discuss.
Again, it boils down, I mentioned earlier, the communication.
Right.
Non-stop talaga. I mean, if you have to make kulit late at night, if you're not sure, do so because it's important. But give them also space. It has to be balanced, but they have to learn the discipline that they have to deliver on time. Because if not, the customers don't go back.
So I think my key takeaway there is that, in the work of sustainability and an entire business value chain, transparency and open communication is really important because the ownership isn't just your end, it's shared. And as Lita Debbie said, it's something that the kind of pride that they have when they have ownership in it also contributes to the sustainability of the work.
That's correct.
So I